You're listening to the Good Question Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Our goal is to make each of our guests exclaim, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Because when that happens, it means you, the listener, may be inspired to learn more beyond the interview and to ask great questions yourself that lead to new insights. In this podcast, we cover historical and current anthropology, comparative religion, and history. Welcome, and let's get started.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Good Question Podcast. My guest today is Julie Pham. She runs Paralegal-Ease Notary, LLC. So we're going to talk about paralegal services. And as part of her mission that's important to her is to help increase legal literacy and make, legal solutions available for people that may not be able to have them right now. So welcome, Julie. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell me about what you do. What area of law do you provide paralegal services in, or is it multiple areas?
Yeah, when people ask, I say I specialize in paralegal work. So we primarily help with people who have family law needs, like, custody, divorce, parentage petitions, things like that. We also do a lot of prenups, postnups, some civil stuff we do. We do really anything under the sun because at the end of the day, it's legal document preparation work. And what people actually need help with more than anything is meeting those deadlines, selecting the correct forms, just interacting with the court clerk in a way that gets their case accepted. Because you file some documents doesn't mean that the court is going to accept it. It's not about approving it. It's about accepting the work, right? And assigning a hearing date, assigning a judge, things like that. So yeah, we really help with pretty much anything under the sun, but we specialize in legal document support. Truly.
Oh, so you'll deal with, I guess, what they call pro se litigants, right? The people are representing themselves. They don't have an attorney.
Right. And a lot of people don't know this, but in California particularly, because we're a California-based company, nearly 3 out of 4 litigants are self-represented. So that means the majority of the group that enters into that files, court case, particularly family law, they're representing themselves, and these are huge issues for them. It has to do with like custody. I was just helping a really nice lady without getting into it, a parentage case. The other parent is homeless. So how do you serve somebody who's homeless, right? And she gets to take care of her children. But the long and short of it is like these are real people with real issues, and the misconception I would say is people think that DIY, do it yourself, means you have to do it alone, and that's really not the case, right? As a paralegal, it's our responsibility to determine when, hey, I can help this particular client get these documents done, and also it's our responsibility to see, this is actually a really, really legally complex case. You need to have an attorney. But, my philosophy at the end of the day is you don't have to do it alone, even if you don't have an attorney, so.
If you have a client that you can see their case is complicated and they have a chance of really getting hurt by representing themselves, will you tell them sometimes, I think you need an attorney for this? Or
oh, yeah.
Do people even listen to you if you tell them?
Yes, because I come at, when I interact with clients, we do free consultations. I take a look at what their set of facts are. And if they don't need legal advice, they just want to get paperwork done, that's something that we can help with. But anytime it gets legally complex, there's motions that need to be filed, or, whatever the case is, they have to get an attorney. Our office will turn down cases because it's too legally complex. Something that people think is, oh, you know what, if I hire a paralegal now, I can save money on the front end. But in the long run, it's going to cost them way more money on that back end because say if they're having a really contentious, spousal support battle, or specifically family law, or maybe a personal injury case, and it's a huge multifaceted thing with insurance and the other part, all of these things, there's a time when a paralegal can help you, and there's a time when you need an attorney. And, when decisions, the decisions that we make will pay us or cost us. That's the way that I see it. So we just get to pick and choose what's going to pay us now or cost us later, or cost us now and pay us later. You know what I mean?
So what's so people come to, like, how do you advertise? Why would people come to you versus an attorney? Do they fear that the attorney will just be too expensive for them, or are they just frightened by attorneys in general? Like what kind of people come to you and why?
Yeah, definitely. So, people seek out the majority of people who seek out a paralegal versus an attorney's office. Their number one reason is usually budget. So, attorneys in California, charge anywhere upwards of $500 to $600 an hour, right? And for people who can't afford that, regular working families in California, they're not super excited about talking to an attorney, or they already have a quote, and that's not something that they can do. So when people look for paralegals, they just want budget, number one, or two, they're intimidated by all of the barriers of an attorney's office, all of these contracts, retainers, all of these things. So again, just to be really clear, is that as a paralegal, I can only, the way that I explain to my clients is I'm more of a vehicle to help you get from A to Z. You're in the driver's seat. You tell me where to go. You make the turns. You make the decisions. With an attorney's office, the attorney is sitting in the driver's seat and they're in the passenger. So they just get to sit there and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And the attorney says, okay, let me take you there. So if what it is that they need help with, they're comfortable sitting in the driver's seat and it's not extremely complex. Like, for example, a name change that doesn't really require legal advice. There's no, should I do this or should I do that? It's more, you follow the court procedures. There's a publication process, and that's it. You get your name changed. When it comes to something like divorce, that's simple and uncontested, a default divorce, those are the best. Everybody loves those. No legal advice required. Great. But if there's children, there's custody, there's visitations, there's battles, those are just turned away. Because in the long run, you want to make sure your kids are taken care of. You want to make sure you're taken care of, and your rights are protected. That's where, you get to have an attorney, unfortunately. And honestly, not even unfortunately, but fortunately, because you have a professional, an expert helping you achieve what it is that you want to achieve, right? Again, just it comes down to the cutting corners. Either what decisions you make, they'll cost you or they'll pay you later.
So when the client comes to you, you give them an honest assessment, and you'll say sometimes, look, you have way too much at stake to be doing this yourself. Yearly to an attorney, or sometimes you'll say, okay, pretty simple, no children, maybe not even, yeah, we can handle that or you can handle that kind of stuff through us. We'll draft documents for you and everything.
Right. And, I don't take any, in the legal arena, an attorney or not, there's no promises that really could be made. It's a matter of, getting the documents in, and if anything ever goes to like jury trial or whatever the case is, it's not up to the attorney. The attorney can only do their best to, appear at the hearings, plead their case, things like that. With a paralegal, I help people complete forms to convey what it is they want to convey to the judge. And it's not up to me, it's not up to the client, it's up to the judge. For example, in a, request for hearing case, or, a request for order case, or whatever it may be. It's about getting the paperwork done correctly the first time, not getting rejected, getting it on pleading paper, having a motion, completed the way that it's supposed to be formatted. All of these little things matter, because when it's in front of the judge is trying to read it, if it's even accepted by the clerk to begin with, so those little nuances do matter in the legal arena.
Oh, so I'm sure you also get people that say, I tried it myself and the court won't even take my motion, or I can't even get started.
Yeah. A lot of that, in California alone, 4.3 million people go through court without a lawyer. And I keep saying family law because that's the one that a lot of people come to us. I would say, no stats, but it's the most commonly, because family law specifically has so many pro per litigants, right? And with civil cases, when you're suing for, I don't know, personal injury, a car accident, or maybe some, malpractice, things like that, you have an attorney. An attorney wants to take on their personal injury case because they're usually on a contingent fee retainer, where with the bigger the settlement, the larger the attorney payout. So attorneys will take those on. But for simpler things that has to do with custody and stuff like that, that's where paralegals are more concentrated, because there's more self-represented litigants in that area. So yeah, it's a big need.
So how do people, why are people saying they're coming to you in the first place? Like, when I don't know if you ask, how did you find us, or why us? Why did you call an attorney? Why did you just do it on your own? Like, what are the reasons people tell you?
Yeah, so it just goes back to number one, number one is usually budget. And then number two, there's this distrust with attorneys in general. And I've been a paralegal for, over a decade. Something that, things that people, clients will just kind of whisper and tell them, like, and say like, hey, I had an attorney and they were horrible. I had no idea, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I tell them the same thing. They're great attorneys and they're attorneys, just like they're great doctors and they're, doctors, right? And I think that attorneys get such a bad rap on, being ambulance chasers and things like that. They do really good work. I've worked for some incredible attorneys and they really go to bat for their clients. But anyway, I say all that to say that usually for when people are looking for paralegals, it's really for budget and it's a quick turnaround. Like they want to get, say, a power of attorney, a medical power of attorney or a financial power of attorney done for their aging parent. And you don't really need an attorney for that. I mean, that's a blanket statement that I'm saying. So it's always good to get legal advice, to get your legal questions answered. But the long and short of it is that when you just want to get something simple, straightforward done and you don't need legal advice, that's where you can get a paralegal to jump in and help you complete that paperwork in a way where you can submit it to Kaiser and say, hey, this is my mom's advanced healthcare directive. If anything happens, you're going to be talking with me, getting a HIPAA authorization, things like that. So anywhere where legal advice is not required, that's where a paralegal is a good fit.
Okay. So when they come in, do you have an outline of the whole case? If it's family law, like I know every case is different, but do you have examples of like all the paperwork and the milestones? Do you show them the whole set of possibilities that are before them? Or are you more focused on like, all right, here's how we get you started. And then you're expecting them to come back to you throughout the process? Or like what's your interaction with a client as they go along, beginning times?
Right. So with the way that our office works is the client does the initial contact. They come to us saying, hey, I need a power of attorney done, or I need to have a divorce case. I have a name change, whatever, the adult adoption. I have this thing. And we have a questionnaire. They complete a questionnaire. We schedule a free consultation. And based on the way that they answer the questionnaire, if I can see that it's very simple, very straightforward, we don't give them, they don't need any legal advice, then I explain to them in general what the court process looks like. For example, the easiest way for anyone to think about a court process, it's really a sandwich. The first is submit the document. Then there's that time in between where there's a hearing or there's some waiting time, whatever that middle part is for that particular area or case law. And then after that, it's the closure, the judgment, post-hearing, whatever it is. So it's really always in three parts. The beginning, which is the petition of some sort, petition, complaint, whatever that may be, motion, request for order. The middle, which is like a hearing or a waiting period or a publication period. And then the end, which is post-hearing or judgment, getting your divorce decree signed, whatever that is. But anyway, we discuss the overall process that they're going to expect. And then we send, if they want to move forward, we send them a retainer agreement. Just like for an attorney's office, there's a retainer agreement that the client signs with the attorney's office. As a paralegal in the state of California, I'm required to also send out a contract that delineates our services, disclaimers, really important stuff. They read it, they e-sign it. And then, we create a client gateway for them. They log in, we draft their documents, they review it, they okay it, and then we move forward with getting their document file. So for an attorney's office, what's different is that for all the attorney's offices I've ever worked for, it's the same procedure, but the difference is that the client doesn't okay it. The attorneys just will say, hey, we're done with this. We prepared your declaration, your affidavit, whatever, sign here. And the clients just read it, they sign it, and it's submitted. With the paralegal's office, the client, at least our office, we do unlimited revisions until the client's happy. We want to make sure that the declaration that they're signing accurately reflects what their experience is or whatever the case is, because again, our office is just a vehicle to get them from A to Z. We are not telling them what to do, what not to do, so so things like that. So
but you can't give them legal advice, but as I understand, that's correct?
Yes. So it's really, really, really important for paralegals such as myself to make sure that we don't engage in UPL, which is unauthorized practice of law. So I've been with great attorneys over the years, and that's not a corner that our office ever cuts, which is why it's very easy for us to look at a client saying, you know what, like you're going to need legal advice here. Please find an attorney. Here's a network of attorneys that our offices work with. They're great. You need a living trust done. Go get that done. Whatever the case may be. But the long and short of it is I have been seeing something that I've been seeing being in this industry is that for one reason or another, maybe they're not trained or unskilled. I don't know what the case is, but I see that legal document preparers have been kind of tiptoeing that line where they say, oh, don't do that yet, or you should do this instead. And legal advice, basically, the way that I like to see anything that has to do with what happens if I do this? What happens if I say this? Should I say this? Should I not say this? Consequences, like why, things like that. Any kind of question that falls into what happens if I do this or should I do this is more or less legal advice. And I'm seeing in my area that, LDAs, legal document preparers are kind of tiptoeing that line, and it's a little scary. It's just inappropriate. It's one of those things. So yeah, that's not something that our office ever engages in because, it's illegal.
Well, what do you do then if someone says, well, what, you guys filed it, help me file this, blah, blah, but now what do I do?
Yeah, same thing. If you want legal advice, you're going to have to contact an attorney's office. I would say the way that our office engages with our clients in relation to the free consultation and all of our interactions from A to Z, I have yet to encounter an unhappy client, one, which I'm really lucky. I'm really proud to say that. And then two, I have yet to encounter a client who feels that our office is at fault for something. I think that I do a really good job of explaining to the client that I am a vehicle. You are the driver. You tell me where to go. You tell me how you want this document to look. And again, there's an approval process after we've drafted the document, the client looks it over and then they say, yes, this is what I want filed. And then it gets filed. The truth is that anyone can pick up a document that's downloadable online. Let's say they do a I don't know, let's just say a prenup. So they can just, put something into, let's say, ChatGPT or something, downloadable random template online. This is my prenup. And then they put in their name, they put in their birth date and, all that good stuff and what they want. And then they both sign it, they get it notarized. And then, something happens and they're engaging in, a divorce case. That prenup is submitted to court. And the judge looks at it and says, you guys didn't follow this 7-day rule. You didn't follow this. Neither of you were represented by an attorney and you guys are waiving spousal support, all of these things. And then it's thrown out. I mean, what's the point of that at that point? With our office, depending on the matter that the client needs, specifically for prenups in this instance, we draft the whole document. So we save the client money on that end by drafting the entire document. But after it's done, we have a network of attorneys that will review the document for the client and then they'll sign off on the document. So at the end of the day, the client has protections for their prenup that follows all of the laws reviewed by someone who is licensed to practice, law and reviewed the spousal waiver, separate property clauses, inheritance, things like that. And the client gets what it is that they need at an affordable rate. So they didn't have an attorney draft the entire document from A to Z for, let's say, I just did market research right now the other day, and I know that for a prenup specifically, they're costing people between, I would say, $5,000 to about $8,000, depending on the prenup. With our office, to get an entire draft and 2 attorneys reviewing it is about, I would say, out of pocket total, maybe $2,000.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the difference. That's significant. So it's like a third, maybe a quarter of the price.
Yeah, it's a big deal for people,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I would say I've been really lucky to interact with clients in a way that everything's extremely transparent. We don't pretend to be an attorney, which, not to say that other people do, but we don't give legal advice under, between you and me, this is what I think. Because that's legal advice, right? We don't engage in any of that. It's really straightforward. You know what you want, the way that I see it, we just help families get documents done and get real results for real people. So, for example, there is a a woman who is, let's say, 55 years old. She contacts our office. This is just a hypothetical. Contacts our office and wants to do an adult adoption, and her stepdad is 80. And these are later ages in life, and you're thinking, why do you want to do that? But it doesn't matter. They want to get it done. They want to. They don't need an attorney. It's a very straightforward process, the adult adoption process, and that's where we come in. If they don't need any legal advice and they want to solidify a family relationship and make it into a legal one with, inheritance rules and things like that, then we can help them with that, right? And there's even other cases where we've helped request for orders. A family law case. There's a divorce one where the gentleman was a veteran and there was a property division issue, and it was actually about a dog. And it wasn't just a dog because, now a lot of people don't know this, but pets and things are seen as assets, as property. They're not seen as living things, right? And the issue of this asset division had to do with a veteran and his dog, and the wife wanted to keep the dog, but the dog was a service dog for his disability incurred from the military. So I say all that just to say that these are real people with real issues, and if they just need to get something filed before a deadline, things like that, we can help. When it gets more complex, you need an attorney, and sometimes we can, work in a way where paralegals are still flexible. We can complete the first half, have the attorney take over the hearing part and the last half, or if it's a not complex issue like a very simple unlawful detainer, like an eviction case, 100% success rate here on eviction cases, but they're simple. There's ones that are a little bit more complex with illegally given notices and things like that we don't take on. And that's completely okay. That's what attorneys are for. Our mission is to fill in the gap for people who don't want to hire an attorney for one reason or don't need an attorney for one reason or another, and have something really straightforward that we can help with.
How are you prized on the various areas of law? Like, do you, attorneys themselves will specialize family law only, or criminal defense only? How many different areas of law do people approach you with? How many can you reasonably do?
Yeah. So, primarily, I would say the primary area that our office focuses in is family law and estate planning. Anything kind of outside the realm of that, if it's legal document work, just like I told you earlier, we specialize in legal document work. The good thing is that because we don't give legal advice, we don't need to necessarily specialize in one particular area the way that an attorney does. Because the benefit of having an attorney that specializes specifically in family law is that, for example, they know the ins and outs of how to give legal advice to a particular client to get let's say calculate spousal support a certain way, or this particular law. For example, I worked for a long time for an attorney who worked in bankruptcy, and that attorney is specialized in bankruptcy, let me tell you. And that attorney, she knew all of the ins and outs of, what the trustees want, what those judges want, things like that. And just to get their Chapter 13 bankruptcy case approved, she always kept things above board. So it's not about, snaking the system. It's about knowing the ins and outs of that particular area and giving legal advice in a way that gets the clients great result. For a paralegal such as myself, I specialize in getting legal documents completed in a way that is accepted by the court clerk, understanding document deadlines. Like if there's a hearing, how many calendar days before the hearing must a response be filed, for example, or how many days after a service is completed for a divorce case does the petitioner need to wait before being able to file a default. So does that make sense? It's not so much about specializing in one area as a paralegal, although we do a lot of work in family law, estate planning, and here and there with civil stuff. It's about being an expert in what it is that this agency needs, particularly the court system, the local Riverside, LA County, San Diego County, Orange County courthouses, what their local rules are. So for Orange County, there's a particular confidential form that all family law cases must do, or to answer your question, the long and short of it, Richard, is I specialize in legal documents in the court system. So because I don't give legal advice, I don't need to specialize in, say, divorces, because I'm not giving legal advice. So what is there to specialize
you're the
in that
bridge
process? Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're the bridge. Okay, well, I guess let me back it up. So for the local court, it sounds like, they all have different rules and different requirements.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're like? So how do you keep apprised of that? You're always talking to the court personnel and they'll tell you, oh, now when you submit this form, you have to use blue ink, or you have to add this cover page on top now. You're like, okay, duly noted, great.
Yeah. I keep an extensive record in our court process systems. Like we have very detailed notes, on how a particular court likes this, how what's required here in LA County. There's when you file for family law cases, a bunch of local court forms that you need to fill out why this is the right court. Orange County doesn't have that. But anyway, all that to say, yes, that's why we are the expert in legal document preparation.
How is your knowledge of, I don't want to call it just minutia, but the legal documents required and all the nuances of the local courts versus a law firm? Like, do you know more sometimes, or they're just on top of it as you are?
You know what? I would say it depends on the firm. It depends on the firm, and it depends on, I think, to go back to what you're saying, it depends on what they specialize in, right? I mean, I do this day in and day out. All I do are notices, pleading, things like that, cases. A law firm is just it's just as important for a law firm to have a good paralegal as it is to have a good attorney, because not only because I am a paralegal, but the truth is that paralegals are the front facing point of contact for clients, for other law firms, for really any contact to the law firm. The first interception is a paralegal, and the paralegal's responsibility is to answer those emails, not just emails from clients saying, hey, how much does it cost to file this? It's, emails from judges, trustees, attorneys, things like that. And your question, I'm rambling. Your question was,
Well, there are cases where you're more aware of all the nuances of what the local courts need more than an attorney's office is. Because they're busy with, if there's a family law attorney near you, the lawyer is busy doing cases. The paralegal that works for him maybe is busy, writing motions and submitting stuff and all that. It just seems like another job now to be on top of the latest requirements for all the courts,
Yeah, no, definitely. You just got to be a good paralegal. To be frank with you, it's just another hat that paralegals get to wear. And I don't see that as a separate job title, really. It's just, if you're a good paralegal, you'll be able to balance all that within reason, of course. I would say because our office is on the pro per level with the client, and the court is saying, okay, look, you need to submit this in conjunction with this. This needs to be attached here. And we have a really, really thorough system of keeping everything in check for the specific courthouse to the specific county. So yeah, I mean, if an attorney's office specializes in that area of law, it's a reasonable expectation for them to be just as knowledgeable of what's going on in that particular courthouse as, say, our office. Something that we're seeing right now is particularly Riverside County, and you can quote me on this, Riverside County Superior Courts are so behind. They're so incredibly behind right now. I don't know what the reason is, if there's a staff shortage or if there's an influx of I don't know what the reason is, but something that our office filed on the last day of June was just accepted yesterday. So it's like 20 days, So that's a long, so what that means, Richard, is, so when you submit something, let's say today's the 23rd July. So if you submit something today, more or less the court should accept it, assign it a case number, assign it a hearing, I would say by the following day, say at the latest, the 24th or the 25th. Now, the Riverside County, this Riverside Superior Court, if you file something today, the 23rd, probably August 15th or so, they're going to accept it and assign a case number to it. So they're really behind. And these are things, there are little nuances that, if the law office practices in that area or with that court, that they should be knowing,
Interesting. So, there was a chain called Why Pay a Lawyer for a while. I guess, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but I guess they would do.
Haven't.
Oh, maybe, I don't know if they're in business anymore, but they were around years and years ago. But I guess they would purport to do the same thing as paralegal type services, document drafting, etc. So it sounds like I don't even know if is there a name within, I mean, you guys, again, are paralegals, but I'm used to paralegals working for attorneys directly in their offices. So the ones that are independent like you and will directly deal with, with people that need legal services, is it called anything different, or it's just paralegal services?
Yeah. So a stat that I came across recently that was interesting was that nationwide, there are about 360,000 paralegals, and very, very few of them are independent. So paralegals, are usually attached, or I think the term is under an attorney, working under the supervision of an attorney. So when you work as an independent paralegal, you have to, at least our office, we don't cut any corners. We are registered with the county as a legal document preparer. And to be able to be registered as a legal document preparer, you have to have certain types of qualifications, and then the county approves it, and then you can practice independently. And again, the most important part is that we are not practicing law, right? We are just helping with getting the legal documents done. So what you're referring to is what they call the document template download situation, where you can, let's say, on Rocket Lawyer or something, on some web.
That's a step even further down. Yeah.
Yeah. You can pay, a small fee, a nominal fee for a empty document, and you can fill out, your name and stuff, and they put it in for you, which, by the way, in case people don't know this, all court forms are on the court website of your local county court. So there's no reason, number one, you should be paying any random website to get a free court form that's accessible. You can go into the courthouse and get it, or you can just get it online at any Superior Court website and download it and do it yourself. And it just takes us back to that. Doing it yourself does not mean you need to do it alone. Doing it yourself, there's a variety of things. I mean, if you just check all the right boxes and and it's accepted, then that's great. That's just not the end of it. After you file something, if it is miraculously accepted, then you've got a hearing set. So how do you serve the respondent or the defendant, or then how are you going to file the proof of service? There's an e-filing method. There's going in person, making sure that you get the right process server. Anyone can just do anything nowadays, download something and check some boxes. But, to say that paralegal work is simply just filling out forms and that's it is, I think, a really big misrepresentation of what paralegal work is. It's just, there's so much more. We can help you from A to Z, prepare your judgment packet, properly serve the respondent, help you get a temporary restraining order done if you need one. There's just so much that paralegals help with that I think that people really don't think about. And when they do need one, and I would say all of my clients have been extremely surprised and really happy with the level of support we've been able to give them without giving legal advice. And at any time they want legal advice, we have a list of attorneys in that specific area that they can reach out to and then pay for an hour of legal advice if they wanted, and come back to say, hey, I learned this is what we need to do now, so.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's a nice bridge. Doing it partially yourself, you're kind of running your own situation. It's a lot cheaper than, in certain cases, dealing with an attorney directly or having the attorney do everything. But it's not just this low level, go buy some documents and scratch your head and try to figure out what to do thing.
Right. I mean, people do that all. I mean, for example, let's say nursing homes. Nursing homes have all of those POA, power of attorney forms and advanced healthcare directive forms and things like that. And they just kind of issue it like candy, just here, everyone gets one. But those forms there, I mean, they exclude a lot of things. So something that I recently went on an appointment with, where someone had a will notarized. In the state of California, for a will to be accepted, let's say in probate court, it needs to be witnessed by two people. Notarization does not count towards that. It has to be witnessed. And then, some of these nursing homes are saying, oh, here's a statutory will. Here's a standard will. Just put whatever you want in it, and then we'll have someone notarize it, and there you go. That's an estate plan. It's yes, you can do these things on your own, but those little nuances and what the important nuances about making sure your document is usable when you need it and is effective, that's where, having legal support, whether by an attorney or by a paralegal, is essential for people, because what's the point then if that prenup isn't going to work at the time of the divorce, or, now the individual is gone, that's not even a valid will at that point,
Yeah, not very interesting. How are you seeing things evolve in the legal profession? Are there practice areas that you're getting a lot more requests in, or ones that are falling off? What do you see changing over the past couple of years?
Yeah, again, family law is big. 70% of family law litigants are self-represented. So, that means every 3 out of 4 cases, whether it's parentage, custody, divorce, adoption, things like that, that they are just people, pro per litigants jumping into the arena, and they can always pick up an attorney or a paralegal later on. But yeah, so family work, family law cases are huge. Estate planning is kind of, I would say that's picking up too, because I feel that, or I can see that in society now, we have such a big, our eyes are open about planning for futures, planning for success. Prenups are definitely on the rise. It's way past the point where the old school stigma. I don't know if you're familiar with this, where people would think that prenups are like this really old guy and this really young girl, and this guy's got a lot of money and he wants to marry. And this, that old stigma of what a prenup used to be. That's not the case anymore. Prenups are, all of my prenuptial agreement clients have been between the ages of, I would say, 29 to about 45. So it's a younger demographic, and it's just about marriage planning. So it's a whole nother topic, that the way that prenups were seen in the past, that it's like, oh, it's a divorce document. No one trusts each other. That's not the case. A prenup is specifically a marriage planning tool. It discusses how property is to be addressed during the marriage, right? And in the event of divorce, but primarily it's during the marriage. And anyway, I say all to say, I know prenups are definitely on the rise. I don't see anything else. I wouldn't say there's things that are dropping as much as I would say there's a larger focus on planning, like estate planning, marriage planning, things like that. So definitely planning is big nowadays, which is great.
Yeah, interesting. What do you see for your firm over the next couple of years? Just, continue as is, or are there, is your goal to, have paralegals yourself that you would provide to law firms, or, where you're at's just fine? Like, where are you headed?
Yeah. So, for the foreseeable future, our firm is just going to continue to expand our outreach. What we've been really focusing on are speaking engagements like this. But also something that's been on my mind as of late is that, in California, there are those huge fires in the Palisades and things like that really impacted people. And, of course, I want to help the community. That's all. Community outreach has always been a mission for our office. But something else, that a different facet of that I've been thinking about, is helping our first responders, because, when whether it's the police force, ambulance drivers, just firefighters, first responders, who they step onto that battlefield, whatever that field, whether it's a fire or whatever it may be, do they have their documents in a row, meaning advanced healthcare directives, HIPAA authorizations, power of attorneys, in the unlikely event that they're going to get hurt, can their spouse jump in and help right away, or whoever that they designate to take care of their financial affairs and healthcare affairs, and having their wish, just so for me, something that's been weighing on me as of late, because I am I live here in California and I'm seeing my neighbors deal with things like that, is making sure that our first responders also have the legal planning and preparation that they need to confidently move in the world and help save lives, and having their families, in a place where it's like, if something were to happen, we have this plan, and we know what to do. So that's been weighing heavily on my mind, making legal support, legal documents, legal planning accessible to our first responders. Just continuing the outreach. At the core of it all, I think legal literacy is so important, and that's not a lot of people think about it, because the legal arena can be so intimidating. The grittiness of legal work and deadlines and courts and all of these things, but we want to take advantage of being prepared, planning ahead, and having the legal document that, in the event that something goes wrong, because everything goes wrong, having that backup when we need it, and knowing that, hey, I have a trust in place, or I have a prenup in place, I have a power of attorney in place. If something happened to my mom while she's traveling abroad, then I know that I have this power of attorney that can jump in and help her at any time. It's just real people with real situations that we want to help, just equip them with legal literacy. So that's what really our mission is at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's excellent. So what areas do you serve in California? Like what cities, what practice areas, et cetera?
Yeah. So we help people in Southern California. We're Southern California based, Riverside County, LA County, San Diego County, Orange County, of course, anywhere in Southern California, we can help with estate planning matters, family law, civil stuff, really any kind of legal document work. If it's not complex, it doesn't need legal advice. We can pretty much help. It's a call away just to see if you can get some legal document help. But do it yourself does not mean do it alone. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about this facet of of doc prep and legal service. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Oh, last thing I forgot to ask, I wanted you to reiterate. How can people get in touch with you that are listening? Website, phone number, what are those two?
Yeah. So anyone who needs any help with legal document work or just wants to see if we can get they can get some help, they can give us a call at 714-248-6064. They can go onto our website at Paralegals-Notary.com. We're also on Instagram at SoCal Paralegal. Yeah, just reach out and see if we can help.
Okay.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
Thank you for listening to the Good Question Podcast. Please email support@thegoodquestionpodcast.com if you have any referrals to great guests for us to interview. Visit thegoodquestionpodcast.com to hear more interviews. And please help us spread the word by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast.